Oh, welcome everybody. I guess we're going to start right now. I'm Fauve Altman, and I'm going to present you the era of bridges. It sounds very technical, but it's absolutely not going to be technical. I'm not talking about bridges, cross-chain solutions, maybe a little bit, but not too much. I'm going to talk about how to grow your startup, the differences between startups that make it and startups that don't make it, in my perspective, obviously. I'm not here to teach you anything new. I'm here to remind you of the things to consider when trying to grow your project, whether it's your project, your startup, your company, whatever term we like to use. My background first. Sorry, too close to the mouth. Is this better, guys? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Sorry, it moved. That's an introduction, right? So I started in 2016 in crypto, and I came in and I knew nothing about crypto. What I knew was social interactions, soft skills people. And I saw that startups needed to the crypto startups, they were all developers. They didn't know how to talk to their users. Not that they didn't know, but there could be some improvements. So I came in and I said, hey, I'm going to be your bridge between your product and your users. We're going to be able to clarify what your project is, what it means, and then we're going to amplify your reach. So I'm going to play your dumb user, and we're going to understand what needs for you to grow. And then I kept doing that, and I kept helping startups grow. This is my big motto, my big 3 words at all times. And I started doing it in the Ethereum ecosystem, growing from ETH Global to State of the dApps, which was the initial first dApp registry on Ethereum and in the whole ecosystem. Over time, other blockchains started to grow, other ecosystems started to grow, and I joined other ecosystems. And I started to remove myself from being only with one project because I saw the need in every ecosystem. I am ecosystem agnostic. I am not only for one chain only. Obviously, we all have preferences. We're human. We do always have the ones we like, the ones we don't like. And with that in mind, I started working with Near Protocol into community building, with Polygon as well in community building, and I do tech support, in a way tech support, debugging the user interactions with any bugs from the code with Aave, the DeFi protocol on Ethereum, Refinance, the core AMM index on Near, and with all of that, I created my own venture, which is Fauve Ventures, but we've recently rebranded to Tilt Ventures. And Tilt Ventures, what does it do, is that it focuses on bringing founders and giving founders a chance to get seen in the ecosystem, to find what's missing. Sometimes you have a great team of developers. You have 3 developers, you have your designers, your front-end designer, but you don't have your marketing person. You have your sales person, you have your BD person, you have one good developer, but you can't find another developer. So at Tilt Ventures, what do? Is that we bring this all together. And we find the missing links to be able to make sure that you get a chance on the market, not that you actually get to not reach your TVL and not be able to grow, and then you just don't get that chance, and also don't get visibility. We also work with ventures who are looking at specific teams, specific verticals in the industry. So one may be working in, let's say, Near, and is looking for startups who are going to do health tech and DeFi. Health tech and mindfulness, whatever. We bring them the deal flows of startups so they know what they're going to work on. And what is that? Is the bridge. It's the bridge between startups who need a little bit that extra knowledge of how to market themselves, how to speak to investors, how to speak to their users. Because bottom line, what is your success rate? It's your users. Always keep your users in mind. That's your product. Obviously, don't forget about your product and your security. So sometimes when encountering certain startups, they think it's a chicken and egg. They're like, I don't know how to get more users. We need to keep that TVL growing. And they don't look at what's unpleasant to look at. You need to look at what doesn't work to be able to make it work, to be able to reach the next stage. A lot of them find themselves in a plateau. So let's deep dive a little bit on that iteration. So bridging the objectives. Bridging the objectives from your product to your users. What do you have to look at? Increasing your brand awareness, entering new and international markets. You think that's absolutely obvious, right? Because it's crypto, it's all decentralized. No, you also do have to look at the different demographics where your users are, because each users in each regions will interact differently. So we're triggered by different things, where we come from, where our cultural background comes from, and we're interested to that. So you do have to tweak a little bit your product and your approach depending on where you are, which is why I highlight new and international markets. Increase your customer base. Obviously, we're always on the run of more users, more users, more users. And the other one that I've seen a lot in the ICO boom in 2018, which was it? It was everybody did an ICO, everybody had the funds, no one knew how to manage their funds. What did they do? Extreme burn rate, poof, the startup disappeared. Users were frustrated because they invested in a protocol, they invested in a project, and then that project didn't make it, and they believed in it, and it didn't happen. So managing your protocol revenue with your user onboarding fee. Think about the fee. We say it has to be free. It always has to be free. No, you need to be sustainable at the same time. You need to keep that in mind so that you are capable of growing on the back end, like I say, internally, expand your team on a regular flow, and also the user will understand. Obviously, they won't understand like Ethereum network congestion fees. Obviously, no, that's ridiculous. We're not all super rich and whales. So 50% targeted sales increase in the following year. So how do you get that 50% of targeted sales to be able to increase in the following year? There's a few metrics to keep in mind. I'm super old school. I take notes, and I read my notes sometimes. So what to consider to be able to determine a realistic target sale is to determine your company's goals. What are your goals? We think that's obvious, right? But if you actually sit down and write down a bullet point list of what your goals are, a lot of people are going to have a break and they're going to have to think about it. They'll have one because that's the one mojo, that's the motto of their company, that's their mission. But can you write your clear goals and break them down in 3 months? Can you break them down in 6 months? Are you able to give me one goal per month clearly and then reach it? Or realize why you didn't reach it? That's the metric that is extremely important to follow. Then the other point is to assess your market potential. Where are you targeting your product? Is it something that is needed to the demographic you're reaching at? Maybe not. Maybe they don't need that. Maybe it already exists. Then evaluate how your sales team is. Do they know the market? Are they familiar with the language as well? Because language is a big thing. Define your commission structure from the start. The commission structure does not need to be in when you're a smaller scale startup. Then is, what are your realistic stretch goals? So the way I like to break it down when I work with startups and I come in and consult them and being like, okay, so let's have some very specific OKRs. OKRs, we break them down in 3 categories. Always do everything in 3. The bridge. We're the bridge, your users, your product. Blockchain trilemma, at the same time to always think about. So, I lost my thought. I'm going to continue. Social media statistics. These numbers are random. I only put them in for you to think about those different analytics to look at. Analytics are super pretty. They speak to your users' behaviors. But not only that, they show what part of your product is attractive and what part of your product is not attractive at the same time. So Twitter, everybody's on Twitter in crypto. Everybody's on Facebook Meta? Not really, not anymore, not that much. People are utilizing Facebook a lot for scams and doing doubles of projects. So a lot of users get kind of trapped and wrecked on Meta. Looking at Discord, or looking at Instagram. Numbers are super pretty, but what are you doing with your numbers? Are you looking how your users is interacting? Your user experience. I see a lot of teams who They offer a great project. They offer, let's say, a good financial project, a good DeFi. They offer the new kind of savings account. But their user experience is extremely complicated. Onboarding the user, it takes about, 50 steps? Any person that is not crypto native is going to look at that. It's going to start maybe the first 3 steps, the first 5 steps. And if it takes them longer than 15 minutes to onboard, they're going to move over, they're going to go find something else. Their user attention has decreased tremendously due to social media. TikTok, how long is that? 15 seconds, 30 seconds? You need to grab the attention very quickly. You need to make the steps very quick at the same time. Or have your front end talk to your user, talk to their needs, to their audience, explain them why this may be slow, explain them the risk of that step. A lot of platforms are looking at risk and security much more at the moment, whether it's an NFT marketplace, whether it's a DeFi protocol, whether it's a bit of both. People are starting to implement the risk of utilizing the platform some more. Some people I've heard were like, no, we don't want to talk about the risk because we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot. Why would you shoot yourself in the foot if your project is actually sustainable and has less risk, and you show to your audience that you are aware of the risk of being interacting on crypto for them? Decentralization, we de-responsibilize ourselves because, hey, it's decentralized, it's a protocol, do your own research, we're free of our responsibility towards what you did. But what's going to happen if they're not properly instructed? They're going to move away. You're going to lose your users. They're going to go elsewhere. So always do A/B testing, sentiment testing, and apply the results. Do A/B testing while you keep on producing your product, while you keep on implementing the issues and the bugs and bettering them. Social media campaigns, obviously, but remain a little bit conservative at the beginning on your cost of your social media campaigns. You can very well grow organically at a steady rate without putting thousands of dollars every day, every week, and have the exact same rate of growth. Because if you put too much money right at the beginning on your social media campaign, what's going to happen is going to be similar as a pump and dump behavior, but with users. It's going to grow, it's going to crash. It's going to grow, it's going to crash. And what happens? Your deal flow is going to reduce. Your funds are going to reduce, and you're not going to be wondering why people are not staying. You're going to simply be completely funneled and obsessed with, we need more users, we need that activity, we need 5,000 likes on this. Your likes don't mean anything. It's easy to get a pot to go and like, but are the people who like, come and talk about your product? Do they use their product? Do they start to do the word of mouth? That's what you have to test. It's the sentiment of your users using your product and talking about it to others. That's your organic growth. And another thing that the user experience keeps on requesting a lot now, which was less visible before, is your roadmap. What does your roadmap look like? And that's what we come back to the OKRs, is to be able that you have a roadmap and you fulfill your roadmap. You can break it down to them. Instead of putting 5 points for the next year, break them down. Do every month, we're going to try to achieve X, Y, Z. And you are able to show that you managed to fulfill X, Y, Z. And if you didn't fulfill X, Y, Z for month A, January, and you move on to February, and the January point moved to the next month, you're able to explain to them, okay, we got delayed on this because of that. Have a dialogue. The more you have a dialogue, the more people are going to feel trust with you, and they're going to stay. We're all creatures of habits, but also we're all emotionally driven. We react by emotions. Whether we admit it or not, everything that we do is emotional based. So, target market percentages. These percentages are what our strategy that I like to give to startups and be like, okay, let's sit down and let's look at the market, the go-to-market strategy we're going to do. And before we even look at the steps to do it, better your security, get a bug bounty, we're going to look at your users and where they're at. So where they're at is the geographics. Then the demographic, what kind of people are using your platform? The behavior, The percentages are super random. This is just to show the type of percentages to look at and what you may get depending on. But those are 5 crucial points. The social graphic is it's what people are socializing with. Do they like this? Do they like that? And the psychographic is really the bottom line. If you think about, Maslow's pyramid, I'm sure you've all heard of it. We have survival as the first one. We're fed. We have a roof over our head. Then we move on to the next one. Success, friends, family. Are we happy with each other? And then the next. And that's your psychographic. Do I like the color red? Okay, I'm going to cater to the color red. There's a whole color psychology. But then look at the regions where you're doing this. Are they more into X color? And it's a targeted group of 15 to 30 years old, or the 5 to 18, or the 60 to 80. These are all metrics that combine together that will make your product adopt more people and onboard them. And these little metrics can be altered and changed because this is your A/B testing. And you change with each group, moving them as puzzle pieces. So this is on the mobile. Access, keep on growing. The idea is always to keep on growing. You want to show that even if you're at a slow rate, not beating the competition, you didn't get that TVL in 24 hours, go 100 million X up, that's fine. But you show that you keep on growing at a steady rate. And yeah, sometimes we feel better. Sometimes the numbers are better. Sometimes there's better months. But that growth is incremental. It never stops. And you can do a rebrand. You can increase the security. You can add a KYC. But if you're able to add new features to your product and it keeps on growing, you're going to get more people and they're going to stay. You're going to have a trusted community to your product. And the strategy 1, strategy 2, strategy 4, those are all the A/B testing and your roadmap. Put them together, communicate what you're doing. SWOT analysis, I know, I'm the marketing person, I'm the user person, you hate hearing that word. I hated hearing it as well. But we have to look at it. What are your strengths? Emphasize them. What are your weaknesses? This is the conversation I love to have with founders or the developer lead is, what's your weakness? What are you not good at in your everyday life? What is a skill you would like to better at work? Now, what's the weakness of your product? I build it in conversation. And if you build that conversation with yourself and with your product and your team, and you look at those weaknesses, you're able to better them and increase. And instead of being super strong in one thing and really weak in the other, you get to level up. By being able to level up between your weakness and your strength, you're never going to have too low of weaknesses that at some point you have, let's say, a bug, or let's say there's a bear market and your project is not sustainable, or even your layer 1, layer 0, you're not sustainable. What happened to Polygon with the UST rug pull? Well, the network was congested. The team at Polygon were working very hard in making sure that transactions keep on going. But that's a weakness. Why suddenly you have too many users onboarding onto Polygon and the network gets congested? That's a weakness. Look at that. What can you do for it to not happen again? Then what are your opportunities? Instead of overly being competitive, I'm very community-oriented. Work together. See how you can make your product stronger without working too much on your weakness and bringing a partner who's going to be filling that hole for you. And then you have a team that does it, and you don't even need to lose brain power on it. So what are the opportunities in the market to be able to work together? And then what are the threats? A threat that I see a lot in community building and marketing is that, hey, we have this team, we want to partner with them, but the team is in on. Hey, there's an IDO platform, I want to put my IDO, but I don't know who to talk to. I can't get whitelisted, the platform doesn't take I can't log in on it. Why? The team is in on. They created a product, they put it accessible on the market, but there will be bugs here and there, but the team is in on, nobody can work on it. What happens? You lose credibility. Your anon-team product loses credibility. So being anon is a threat. Maybe not for Bitcoin, a co-founder, super old, geeky thing to bring up at this point many years later, but it's rare scenarios that it works well to be a non. I want to relate to you. Your user wants to relate to someone. How do we relate? How do you make your product relatable to your audience? And then they get attached to it. They like it because they recognize themselves in it. If I don't recognize myself in something, I'm probably not going to go in it. I'm probably not going to move forward unless I absolutely need it and it's a niche product in, let's say, my market, or simply because I need health and I'm going to go to the dentist. I don't relate to my dentist. So always keep in mind these 4 metrics. What are your goals? What are your costs? Your product. Product is a lot of things. It's your code, it's your security, it's your front end, it's your back end, it's all of it together. Your users, who are your users? And then mix and match them and see how they fit. So how does your cost relate to your users? How much does it cost to onboard one user? Can you reduce that cost? Your cost versus your goals. Are your goals overly costly, or can you bring that down, or you need to expand on that? Your product and your goals, do they align? Does it make sense to do these goals with where your product is at? Because maybe you have a goal, but that goal should be for tomorrow, or it should be for in 6 months, because my product is just not ready to follow that goal. How do they assimilate to each other? Mix and match these 4 metrics, and you generally will have a quite holistic 180 view of what works and what's sustainable for you, because the idea is for you to always remain sustainable. And this was a very short presentation, because I have a tendency to speak very quickly. But again, what I want to bring up is it's super important to always think about the security of your product. Obviously, you all know that. But it's also really important to think about who's using what you have to offer. And this is why at Tilt Ventures, we've decided to be the bridge between the founders, the teams, and the investors, the venture capitalists, who tend to be very harsh or wanting to put a lot of money into XY project because of the FOMO. We come in and we're like, okay, there's multiple verticals to look at. What is it that you need? What is it that you're missing? And then we bridge that together. And that's why I call it the era of bridges, not because it's the era of bridges in 2022 between networks. And I remain available for any questions, if anyone has any. Thank you.